Fine. Okay. So we are in chapter 5, Karma Yoga. Again, it's a continuation of chapter 3, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Okay, it is much more. So before we go, let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nanakashalakaya Chakshummitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpaturabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Avayevacha Patitam Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatesha Tarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So we are in chapter 10. What did we see? Before that, I will just like to show this video. This is about our Sri Prabhupada. This was interview, in US, in the early days when ISKCON was just making an entry. And, he's the founder Acharya of ISKCON. And if you want to see, how great a person is, then you must see how easily he could make the devotees. And we know how there are so many devotees we have found. Okay. So let us just listen to this video.
You founded the Hare Krishna movement some 7 years ago in 1967, did you not?
Yes.
You can hear the sound. No, you can hear the sound, Hare Krishna?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
So what is the movement?
Movement is to awaken God consciousness of the human being. The human being is distinguished from the animals, that the animals cannot understand what is God.
Mm-hmm.
And if the human being also does not understand what is God, then he is enemy.
I see. And so your movement is to bring about an understanding of God among human beings.
Yes.
And Hare Krishna means what?
Hare Krishna means addressing the energy of God. Hare means the energy of God, and Krishna means God.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you were here yesterday and to attend your annual festival that was held here in Golden Gate Park, and we were there too. And in fact, here it is. A few thousand people came out to hear it. How many people are now disciples of the Krishna consciousness movement?
Dedicated life, about 10,000.
About 10,000 dedicated
in
ones.
the Western world.
Mm-hmm. Your Grace, is there any significance at all in the shaved head? Why are heads shaved?
We keep ourselves very clean, that's all.
Oh, it's just a cleanliness thing?
Yes.
Is there any significance in the color of the robes?
At least at the present moment, people think that by keeping long hair, it becomes very beautiful.
I see.
Yes. So we are against it.
Mm-hmm. Just as simple as that. Is there any significance in the yellow robes?
Yellow robe is the dress, those who are dedicated.
Mm-hmm. It could very well have been a blue robe. It's just something that was arrived at.
This saffron.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Your Grace, why do you feel that so many people are pulling away from the traditional religions in this country, such as Christianity and so forth, and going for the trying to understand the Eastern religions? We hear a lot of swamis and gurus and other type of yogi and so forth. Why do you feel that people are pulling away from the traditional Christian standards here?
But we see that the Christian churches, especially I've seen in London, mostly closed. People are not interested, or the Christian leaders, they cannot make them interested.
Why? Did Christianity fail the people, which is why they're turning to other things? Or?
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You say that Hare Krishna consciousness pretty much takes the absolute truths from the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, and the Vedic.
Yeah, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Religion means to understand God.
I understand, but do you feel that in getting truths from various places like the Bible and the Quran and so forth, don't you run into conflicts at all or contradictions in those particular philosophies?
No, I don't find any conflict because the ultimate goal is God. So you have to understand God and try to love Him. So you can go through any religious process. If the goal is attained, that you understand what is goal, and you try to love Him, then your life is perfect.
Why do we see so many of your followers chanting almost all the time?
Chanting means to keep association with God always.
So you have to audibly chant Hare Krishna?
Yes. This is transcendental vibration. Just like a radio message. If you keep contact with the radio message, then you know everything what is going on outside. Similarly, this transcendental sound, Hare Krishna, if you chant, then you keep connection with God directly.
Thank you very much, Your Divine Grace. It's been our privilege to talk with you and to meet you.
Thank you.
And hope that we can see you again when you return.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome.
So this was the interview, and you can see they're only talking about how to know God and and it's a love God. So there is the devotional process. So what was in the chapter 4 summary is that Krishna was saying that he has talked about this science to sun god Vivaswan. Later it came to Manu, and then it came to Ishwak. And so then Arjuna was wondering, he was taken aback. He said, how can it be? You're my contemporary, and sun god was my senior. So then he says, then he has to speak about his divinities. Then he said, it's through the parampara system only it has come, and Krishna found that it was lost down the line. So he's again starting the parampara with Arjuna, and he's giving the science here in Kurukshetra. Then he said, the Krishna, and knowing his divine, his appearance and how his pastimes and all that, people have got liberated. And also he said he's a creator of the Varnashram system, and all the goal is to reach the Lord. And then he talked again about Karma Yoga, action in Vikrama, Karma, and then Akarma. So then he talked about how to, we saw how bona fide lead guru is, and what this should be the qualification for a person to understand Bhagavad Gita. And then we need to go to a guru, Tadvidi Pranipatena. And that these are the 12 Mahajanas, the Brahma, Shambhu, Narada, Kumaras, Sukadeva Goswami, Kapila Muni, Janaka Maharaj, Bhishma Dev, Prahlad, Yamaraj, Bali, Swayambhu. These were the ones who, by understanding the transcendental knowledge, they were able to get liberated. So how many years before Gita was spoken by Lord? Can you all remember? Hare Krishna. We said, we discussed yesterday.
200 million
Anybody?
years.
Yeah. When did it come to the earth? 120
2
million.
billion years ago.
Yes. What is the benefit of knowing Krishna? That is,
We can get liberated and go to God, back to
yes.
God.
Yes, that is, we get liberated from the cycle of birth and death. What is the difference between Krishna and us?
Krishna is transcendental, he is God. And we are materialistic people, our bodies are material. His body is transcendental.
And we are covered by gross body and the subtle body.
Subtle body.
Yes, and then we are under the control of the Maya, but he controls Maya. So we are under illusion. So Krishna will reciprocate to the extent we surrender to him, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, so thank you. And so this chapter has 4 sections, okay? And it starts off with, again, a question by Arjuna. So Arjuna is saying, because there were so many times he has been telling, the chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, that you should know this knowledge and all that. He thinks that cultivating knowledge means you have to give up activity and take up sannyas. That is, you go to a place and not do any activity and just cultivate the knowledge and focus on the Lord. So he's asking, is better? And then because Krishna, after saying everything, he keeps telling him, now you get up and fight. So he's now confused whether you just go take up karma sannyas or do karma yoga, or do the action. So then he starts off with that, and then Krishna explains how activity is required, though both have the same goal to go back to the Lord, but still karma yoga is the better because activity is required for the soul. Otherwise becomes idle mind, becomes the workshop for devil's workshop. And then he continues to explain there in the second section is how it is easier than sannyas. And then he talks about NISHKAMA karma yoga, which is truly free from bondage. Otherwise, we get entangled in this fruitive reactions. And then how to get liberated by focusing on the Lord. So there will be quite some repetitions, but we need to, he keeps repeating it so that to stress the point, right? So, Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryoga cha samsasi etshreya etyorekam tanme bruhi shu nishtita. Bruhi shu nishtita means tell me it is beneficial. Arjuna said, "Oh Krishna, first of all you asked me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? Which is the more beneficial to me?" So what was the misunderstanding? See, when devotional service is better than dry mental speculation, just speculating in the mind is. In fact, in second chapter, we saw, Krishna said that knowledge of soul he gave, and then we are the soul and not the body, and he explained for the argument of killing the kinsman. He said this only, you're changing the body and nothing else. You're not actually killing the person. Then he explained what a prescribed duty is there and how we get entanglement. And then by doing devotional service, you can disentangle. So this was there in second chapters. Then in third chapter, he explains no duty for a person in knowledge. Because once he understands that everything is for the Lord, then it's actually no duty. But he will be doing it because he's doing it with that knowledge. But if you just only pick out that verse 17 and 18 and not look at the verses which is coming afterwards, 19, 18, then you will get confusion. Because there continues, he says in 19 and 20 and onwards that you have to do it for the Lord. So people will just pick up only these two verses and think there is no duty for a person in knowledge. Then in chapter 4, he says all kinds of sacrificial work culminates in knowledge. And the last chapter verse, he again tells, Krishna tells to Arjuna to get up and fight. So now he's thinking that to cultivate knowledge means you should not do any work. But now Krishna is saying, what do you think? Will karma sannyas, I mean, a person going to Himalayas, sitting quietly and meditating and thing, will that be better? Or the person who is in doing devotional work and then keeping himself engaged? What do you think would be better?
Doing devotional work and keeping yourself engaged is better.
Why? What happens to the other person?
Because actually what I feel is to work for God and do devotional service, it is better, no, at least we are doing something and we are getting satisfaction also.
Yeah, the mind is not, I think there the mind is not yet purified. It might be still in the, on the sense objects. So unless the mind is purified, otherwise you'll always be, it will be difficult. It's not that it's not difficult, but focusing and all that would be difficult when you go into the mix. But there are, because it was easy in those days, in the Satya Yuga and all that, but not in Kali Yuga, where the life is short and so many things are there, and it's not that easy to go to an isolated place. So Karma Yoga.
So Mataji, does that mean that Karma Yoga leads into the Karma Sannyasa? Starts off with Karma Yoga and then probably once there is more
Karma
purity,
Yoga will lead to Bhakti Yoga, Prabhuji, because you will be focusing on the devotional work, no? You're sacrificing, doing everything for the Lord.
right?
You actually will be detached from the thing. You'll be with the detached from the material results, not the work.
Yeah, so you
So it's
start
like
off
a
as
sign.
Karma Yoga, you start off as a Karma Yogi, and
Yes.
then gradually you can probably move into Sannyasa or into Bhakti or whatever, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Because sannyasa means it's like renouncing the activity.
Mm-hmm.
You can't renounce activity. That's what the Krishna says here. Because renouncing activity, you're coming out thinking that if I do activity, then I get entangled. I get the reactions. Why do activity at all? So I'll just cultivate knowledge. I can just keep reading things and all. That will not keep your mind engaged, no? So you can easily fall down. There's a risk of falling down here. Here means you are engaged with some work, no? Your mind is engaged. So the risk of falling down is not there. I mean, it is less because you're all the time focused on the Lord. Whereas here, there's a risk of failure would be there because, sometimes you may not be, it will take a lot of your effort to do in this, to be as a sannyas without doing any activity and just focusing on the Lord. So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Niyashreya Karav Ubhav Tayostu Karma Sannyasa Karma Yoga Vishishati. The personality of God had replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. Because it is, though you are doing it with good intention, but this is easier, which was Karma Yoga is easier. That's why he says that is Visheshate, is better. And there are, this is something, there are 6 kinds of Dharma, because that's Dharma is something very loosely used today, and I'll just give up. I don't know if you all have heard about it, but I'll just tell you. There are 6 kinds of Dharma. Vidharma, that is irreligion. The people just do all, they think they will do all sinful activities and say that is the religion, Vidharma. That there is some, Prabhuji was telling us that there is some who will say that just because sex is the one which is the karma, is the one which is the root of all unhappiness. Just enjoy as much as you want till you get frustrated. That means you do so much that you get frustrated, then you will give up. But that's not the way, to do sinful. Keep on doing sinful activities. Finally, you get, you keep on eating sweet too much. Finally, you give up eating sweet. It's not the same as doing for sinful activities. So that kind of people are there trying to mislead the people. That is known as Virdharma. Paradharma is something, religious principles for which one is unfit. We take up something which is not fitting us, it's not suiting us. Upadharma is to help others materially, thinking that is the religion. Now many people say, that it's almost near to the Paradharma, but it is not. Because you want to feel nice by helping others, doing pious acts, you want to feel nice. So helping others materially is known as Upadharma. Chala Dharma is cheating religion. They will quote some Shastras. Actually, they won't be there in the Shastras, but they say it is there in the Shastra and this is how you have to do. So they will be actually cheating the people in the name of religion. Okay, in the name of Shastras. That is known as Chala Dharma. Dharma Abhas is there are people will come up and say, this is how we have to be, this is the religious principles, and this is how we have to do. And after preaching everything, when you go back and they go back to their life, they will be actually not following it. Like, there are persons, who preach the smoking is bad, it is injurious to health. But after giving all that lecture, he goes back to his room and starts smoking. So that is like, Abhas, he's giving a shadow, it's not the actual thing. So, but the person, Parodharma is the eternal religion. This is what our Bhagavad Gita is talking about. It's an advanced book. And some would say, no, Vedas is the more important than Bhagavad Gita. Okay, there we have to understand the difference between Vedas and Bhagavad Gita here. Vedas actually is like a manual. Like, when you get a mobile, you'll get a manual to say how to use the mobile, right? Same way, when you have come into this world, Vedas has been given by the Lord so that you will know how to live in this world. So he tells how to live in this world and then slowly try to understand the Lord and go back. It's like what Bhagavad Gita tells us, how to go back to him, how to go back to his abode. That is what we are learning here, right? So, you can think of like we are in a jail, right? We are in a jail and we need to get out of this cycle of birth and death. So Vedas will tell us how to live in the jail. Whereas Bhagavad Gita is telling us how to come out of the jail. Okay, that's how the difference. But there is some people get confused between this Upadharma and the Paradharma. They think that they look similar. So that is the difference. We have to be very clear in this. Is Manav Seva equal to Madhav Seva? Because this is many a time will be written on the temples and all that. What is your opinion? Hare Krishna, you can give your opinion on this. Is Manav Seva equal to Madhav Seva?
Yes,
Yes,
Mataji,
Mataji.
please.
Yes, I think yes.
Madhav Seva is equal to Manav Seva is equal to Madhav Seva, because I feel service to mankind is service to God ultimately.
Okay. Then what else? Others? But if you give somebody to, okay, you're giving some charity to someone, and then he uses it to buy drugs or to buy some thing. Is it right?
No, it is not right, but this is the bad karma he is acquiring for himself. I am doing it with good spirit.
But you also will take part in it. You will also get a portion of the karma. But actually, if you give
So
him,
basically,
okay,
Manav Seva is like getting rid of this cycle of birth and death. That is actually Manav Seva.
no, Madhav Seva is you are doing work for the service to the Lord, right? Manav Seva is like suppose somebody is very hungry. You are giving him food. Okay, that is good, right? You have to give food to the hungry people. But if you give him some spiritual knowledge, how to come out of that, that seva would be much better, no? Because he will also get to know how to live in this world and how to come out of that. So just doing Manav Seva and not telling him about the Lord would be inefficient. I mean, it would be insufficient. What do you feel? Because this is many people get confused on this Manav Seva. But if you do Madhav Seva, You're doing at the root level. So then automatically it goes to all the way. So like now when you take Prabhupada, he was only telling about Bhagavad Gita, how to live, to get out of it. Then slowly they started telling others also who were not happy, who were very unhappy, and who didn't know what is there in life. So they're not just giving them food for the body, they started giving them knowledge to the soul also, how to live and how to, then they could come out of it. So by doing the service for the Lord, this is actually the devotional service, doing the thing. You're actually doing the seva to the Manav. Just giving them food or just giving them thing for the bodily, materially, it won't help them. Is it? Am I right? Or is it okay?
So yeah, Mataji, just it adds to the confusion a little bit. Another question I had is, so in that case, I mean, there are people who convert people, right, to other religions.
Yes,
by giving them food. So is that correct?
Prabhuji.
So is that correct? Because they are giving food and teaching them about God.
Yes, Prabhuji. But will they be satisfied? They will just be okay. For the temporarily, they're happy with their bodily comfort. But in the name of religion, can you do that? Is it right?
Yeah, that is the confusion. So
yeah, so that is that is what had happened. I mean, this is what has been happening in the name of Manav Seva. They are trying to do like take to their religion. So that is, I mean, we should go to God with loving service, not with the compulsion. Okay, somebody has given me a food for thing, obligingly go to that thing. That is not the way the Lord wants. The Lord wants you to come on his own free will, to understand him, right? How long will they be? So this is a confusion. Manav Seva is equal to Mother Seva. There always be a conflict. Okay, and people get carried away by the Manav Seva. So this, we like to give a nice, there's a story about NRGA'S FALLDOWN. This is in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 64. So there was a king NRGA thing. He was fond of performing fruitive activities. That means he used to do a lot of sacrifices, charity, and to brahmanas. And every day he was fond of doing that, doing sacrifice and charity. And he was giving a lot of brahmanas. Those days you have to give them gold and cows and all that. So one day what happened, a mistake took place. That is when he gave the brahmanas the cows, one of the cows, it just came back to its goshala. Because the animal is so comfortable in their own goshala, it doesn't know. It didn't go with that brahmana's house. It just came back to the king's goshala itself. And the next day when the NRGA Maharaj was giving charity, this cow was also included. So then the first brahmana was searching for that cow and he comes back searching. And then he sees the second brahmana taking the same cow with him. So then they have a big fight. He said, no, this cow was given to me yesterday and this is mine. Then second brahmana said, no, today only the king gave me. So then the king realizes a mistake has happened because the cow has come back to the goshala and without knowledge he has given. So this mistake has taken place without his knowledge, right? And he tries to appease the two brahmanas, but the brahmanas won't. They say, you are such a this thing, you are trying to give the same thing to two people, and they curse him, and they won't listen to any amount of things and dissatisfy. So finally, what happened is when he goes back to the Yamaraj, the Yamaraj will ask him, so you have done a lot of punya, and so you want to first enjoy your punya activities or to your papa. Then he says, first let me complete my papa activities. So then he has to become a lizard for a very long time. So he was a lizard in a well, lying there as a lizard for a long time. So only when Krishna's time, some children were playing around and they saw this lizard, huge lizard. Okay, they were trying to get him out, but it wouldn't come. Then finally they go and tell Krishna, see, there's a lizard there, it is unable to come out. So when Krishna comes and touches it, he gets delivered. So then he confesses what happened and thing. So he was doing these charity activities too. Like, he was puffed up with that. He was so proud and he was so, I mean, he didn't do it as a thing for the Lord. He was all the time thinking he's doing it for himself, pious activities. So then he realizes that doing that type of charity was not good. Therefore, devotional service is the only auspicious activity for the soul. So this was discussed in things. So we learn proper understanding of renunciation is required. Because when persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material. There are a lot of things. The renunciation is something we need to understand properly. Here Rupa Goswami says, I mean, suppose some things we can be used for the Lord's service. Like now I'm using this laptop to talk, to give the lessons on Bhagavad Gita. So it's not a luxury. It is using for this. Same way when you're trying to use, sometimes if you need to go to some place for some seminar for the Lord's work, then if you go by a flight, then it's not a luxury as such because you're doing some work for the Lord. But some people, Mayavadis, they think everything is luxury. So they try to renounce the other things. If we could have used for Supreme Personality of God, they think it's so. Renunciation is, if you could use any of all these things for the Lord's service, then it is not things. You should understand that Phalaguna. So Krishna says, one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activity is known to be always renounced. Hate is something like you had an attraction to it, so you try to hate that thing. So it's always renounced. Such a person, liberated from all dualities, easily overcome material bondage and is completely liberated. So Krishna says, you should not hate the fruits of your activities, not desire it. You should renounce only the fruits and not the action. So we have to renounce only the results and not the action, because it is whatever it is, you have to do it as your duty and nothing else, and not to think that you will be able to get some punya or thing. So he says you have to renounce the results and not the action. So unless one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, mere renunciation of activities cannot make one happy. The sages purified by works of devotion achieve the supreme without delay. So sannyasi tu mahabaho dukkham aptam ayogatha yoga yukta muni brahma na chiret. So we have to do some work, we have to get involved in some service for the Lord. So even devotional service, the chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra is also a devotional service. We are also chanting, we are trying to take the name of the Lord to be in the consciousness. So if we renouncing just the thing, activities, and will not be happy. And we cannot achieve the supreme without it. So then one who works in devotion, who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone. And everyone is dear to, though always working, such a man is never done. So he is always working for the Lord. He is not thinking about the results. He is just does his duty and his thing. So then he is not entangled. So Brahmanya adya karmani sangam tattva karotiya lipyate na se papena padma patram ivamasa. So one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme God, is not affected by the sinful action. As the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So just like the lotus leaf is not get attracted. So we have the best examples, Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruvat. Prahlad Maharaj was always on the thing, he was firmly fixed. He was Narada Muni had, there was a spiritual master, so he had heard it in his womb, and he was all the time in the, and he was after his father's death, he did rule the kingdom. It's not that he went off to forest or anything, but he was always on the thinking of the Lord, and he was doing it as his duty. Same way Dhruv Maharaj, after he got the benediction from the Lord also, he ruled for 36,000 years. So people, they who perform their duty without attachment, surrendering the results of the Lord, is not affected by sinful action. So that's what the Lord says here. So living in this world, how can one do his duty unattached? This is the most difficult thing. Is only by sadhana. Only by sadhana, practice, personal discipline yourself and do the chanting. That's the first thing which helps us in the purification process. The yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind and intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. So why do they do the work? They do the work for purification and not for being idle. They do it for those are the yogis. So we have, this is what Prabhupada used to. This, I'm sorry. So this is when he was in the beginning, no? In the he used to chant in the Central Park in New York. Okay, and you can see how he was surrendered and he was unaffected by this. Sorry. So this, by chanting, he used to do it for more than 4 hours, and people somewhere over there, I think slowly they got the listening to that vibration, the sound vibration. And then they slowly started moving towards him and trying to understand what he's trying to say. And then they left their habits and they took up this thing. So the steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the results of all his activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. So he says, Yukta karma phalam tyaktva santyam apnoti naishtikam ayukta kama karena phale sakto nibadhati. So you will get peace only when you offer the results of the activities to him. Otherwise, you will get entangled. Okay. When the embodied soul's being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates. So neither working nor causing work to be done. So what do you mean by 9 gates is our 2 eyes, 2 ears, then 2 nostrils, mouth, and the genitals and things. So through that, you get the information, the working senses and all that. So what he does is, he controls his nature, mentally renounces all actions. So he's happily eating because he knows who is causing the work. Because actually he's doing the duty, that's all. And the body is doing the work and he is focusing on the Lord. So whenever one is enlightened with the knowledge by which license is destroyed, that is, his ignorance is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So this knowledge that whatever we do, we are doing it for the Lord. So if you be in that consciousness, then you will really get the realization inside. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings. What are the misgivings? This is which we have inside our thing, lust, envy, anger, everything. So that has to go, and that we can go only by our sadhana through complete knowledge, and thus proceed straight on the path of liberation. So one who understands all that, what does he behave? How does he behave? He says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Astini Suni Chaiva Swapucha Pandita Samadashan. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, and dog, and a dog in the house. He sees everything in him. Why? How can a person see with equation? Why does he do? Can anyone understand this? Why does such a person sees with equal vision towards all living entity?
Because Mataji, he feels that super soul in form of Paramatma is in every living entity, like inside everyone, whether it is dog or human being or anyone.
Yeah.
Everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna.
Yes. So he is able to look at everyone, I think. But he understands they have their different natures. Okay. Because in each one has got their own body, so they will be working with their nature. But inside everyone, the soul is there. But there's another thing also we can look at it. The Lord doesn't be there only with the Pandita or only with the self-realized souls. He is there in every living entity, whether it's an ant or a dog or a chandala or anybody. He is there in everyone. Only thing is they are not conscious of it. Okay. So the Pandita is conscious that he is there in all living entities. And we also can understand that Paramatma will be there even in a small ant as well as in Brahma also. So he is there in everything. There is no discrimination as far as Paramatma is concerned. For him, everyone is his children. Like, a mother will love her children, no, whether he is the CEO of a company or if he's even if he's unemployed, still she will love everyone. She is not that any discrimination she will make. Same here, the Paramatma doesn't discriminate anyone. He is there in everyone, trying to work with them. But it is only they get entangled with the thing because of the illusion. They forget Krishna. So this is how he says, unless you remember me and come back to me, then you can get relief from the fruitive actions. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness for he concentrates on the Supreme. So, see, why he is talking all that, you may think, no, it's so difficult to achieve. How can we do that? But unless we know the topmost, no, which is the pure devotional service, unless we know the characteristics of it, unless we know how such a person is, then only we can aspire for that. Only then we can work towards that. Okay. So in this, what Krishna says, one is not attracted to material sense pleasure. So what is the need of giving up the sensual pleasure? So because that is the one, why should we give up? Work towards that sensual pleasures. Anyone can answer? And what are the different types of sensual pleasure that entraps a living entity? Okay, we'll go with that. Some examples here. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Puti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So whatever we think that is going to give us happiness, it is only temporary. It is just a beginning and it will end. Yes, samprasha bhoga dukha onaya evate adi antvata kaunteya na teshu ramati buddha. So if in animals, like in this flies, it is attracted to the light. It sees the light and it starts going towards the fire and finally it gets burnt. Okay. Whereas this deer, it has got a sense of hearing is very sharp. Whenever it hears music, it just stops and it tries to see where the music is coming at. This is how the hunters trap the deer. And this is sense of hearing is sharp. Whereas the bees have got a sense of smell. It likes the smell of the lotus and it starts going to the flower and it gets trapped there. And whereas fish has got the sense of taste. It likes to eat all the time. And so even if you find something, when you see the bait and all, it tries to eat. So sense of seeing the light, then music, hearing, smell, taste, and elephants, how they catch in the forest is by showing a she elephant and starts going behind that and then it gets trapped. So in these animals which we are shown here, only one sense is very sharp. Whereas for our human beings, all our senses are very strong. So we have to be careful of what if you get trapped into that, then so we need to regulate. It's not that it's easy to give up, but we have to regulate and get the thing. So before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is a yogi and is happy in this world. So now Krishna is telling how they can, being in this world, how they can be happy as a yogi. One whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within and is illumined within, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and ultimately he attains the Supreme Lord. So what is the peace formula he is giving finally? What is he concluding? Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suhurdam sarva bhutanam jnatva mam shantim richati. This is a very important verse. If you can remember this, then we understand Bhagavad Gita. So what the Lord says here, the sages knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities. That is, he is the Bhoktaram. If all sacrifice, all the thing, he is the enjoyer. We think we have come here to enjoy ourselves. That is why we are stuck here. But all the thing is for him. Okay, so ultimately he is the enjoyer. We are one of the bhaktas. We cannot be a bhokta. The Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods. He is a Sarva Loka Maheshwara. He is the controller of everything. He is the whole. There has to be one person to control. So he says, I am the controller of the whole universe, the planets, demigods, and the cosmic. And Suhurdam Sarva Bhutana. So he is the benefactor and well-wisher of all. See, he is a so he is enjoyer. He is the controller and the thing, and he is maintaining everyone and is well-wisher of all living entities. So the sages, if you know on these things, they attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. What is the miseries we have today? Adhyatma, we have our own miseries, mental miseries, then disease in our body, or we can get miseries from trouble from the other living entities, from other people, from other thing, and also we can get trouble from the like floods, earthquake, and from the nature, from the demigods. So these are the three kinds of miseries we have. So from those pangs, if we understand this, that the Lord is the enjoyer, Bhoktaram, he is the Sarva Loka Maheshwara, and he is the well-wisher. So he is a well-wisher as such. So if we understand these three things, then otherwise there won't be any war today, because everyone is telling that is my country, that is, I want that, they want to lord over it. But everything belongs to the Lord. They never brought it. We are, and our life is only temporary. And whatever we are thinking and we are trying to lord over it, it's only, we think we have achieved many things, but it's only temporary. And then once you leave this body, everything goes away. But he is the true thing. The sages know, the wise people know that he is the Bhoktaram, he is the enjoyer, and he is the Maheshwaram, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, and he is the benefactor, well-wisher, and he is a well-wisher. He is all the time trying to help us, but the only thing we don't turn to him. So this is what finally, this is a very short chapter. This is the most important verse which we need to keep in mind. This is the peace formula. Okay, so let us start this. So he talked about karma sannyasa or karma yoga. We need to do our activities, but do it for the Lord. Renounce the results or nothing else. That takes time. And then he says, Nishkama karma. And why we have to do it? Because we can be free from the bondage. And then how can we do it? We need to focus on the Lord, thinking he is the supreme. He is the one who is controlling the enjoyer. And he is the well-wisher for us. And he is there. So if we do it as our duty and think, you can. And it takes time. I mean, it's not that easy today because we are bogged down by the Maya. Okay. So, but sadhana, by doing sadhana, we can do it. People have done it. So, and we saw Prabhupada, how he is not at all disturbed, but whatever was happening in the park. So many people were there, interested, lying down there. That was those days in the CPs, and many turbulence were there in the city, you know. But he was not, he was never perturbed. He was only thinking, Lord, you have given, I believe in this process. And he was just chanting and chanting and chanting, is to do it. And that attracted, and how they became the devotees for Krishna consciousness. They came into that moment and they turned their life. Okay, so we need to understand God as He wants us to do it, not like we have our own conception. No, He has told here clearly, I am the enjoyer, I am the well-wisher, I am your controller. So once we understand Him as He has told, then we can follow His instructions, right? So, Mancha kalpatu abhyascha kripa sindhyave evacha patitam nam pavnebho Vaishnavyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.